like this, like a shotgun mic typically, or a lavalier mic. This one does both, and I think this is priced at £170. It sounds like a lot of money, but it actually isn't, not for audio equipment, and it'll do a very good job. So this will get you going. So when you add up those three basic elements there, we're talking £450, £500, $450, $500 or thereabout, and you've got the basic stuff that you need. Yes, you're going to need a tripod, and you're going to need a little stand to hook this onto, and this will just take a normal light stand from photography with the right sort of thread fitting. Just check that out before you buy it, and now you're good to go. So let's have a look at some different lighting techniques. So this is step 5. We're going to really start thinking about our lighting now. All cameras like light, and this is the thing we need to understand with cameras. Cameras will often struggle producing good quality images because there isn't enough good quality light for them to use. And the cheaper the camera, the more it needs light. The sensors, as they get cheaper, get less efficient, and they start compensating more and more electronically to low light. So get good quality light, get plenty of it, and then the camera, like we suggested earlier, will work. So when you buy those free camera light setups, use those setups, make sure you try and do it that way with good quality light. That's going to help the camera actually to work. So let's just have a look at a simple lighting ratio. This is a 2-to-1 lighting ratio. The main is twice as strong as the fill, so you can see 2-to-1. We've also got a hair light, you can see the video camera, and you can see the subject. So this is how we would typically light a talking head like you're seeing me present right now, which most marketing videos you'll find that if you do a talking head, you're going to get more engagement. People are going to relate to the person talking. People like to connect with a voice. They like to see the face behind the voice. You can do animations, you can do all these other types of marketing video, but if you can get someone on screen that's engaging and people can connect to, your video is going to get much more engagement and watches. So oftentimes when people go 2-to-1 ratios on lighting, I'm a commercial photographer and a director of photography for VideoWorks, just so you understand where I'm coming from. When they go lighting ratio, what they typically do is they'll take one light and then they'll half the power on the other light. Well, when you do that, it's actually easier sometimes just to switch both lights onto the same power and then move the main in to where it needs to be to get a nice soft wrap around the face, and then the fill light a little bit further out. And when you look at the main here, you'll see there's a softbox on it and there's a softbox on the fill light, but there isn't one on the hair light. The reason for that is we want soft light on the face, want hard light shining through the hair. Now the hair light's going to help. Just put a little bit of rim around the edge of the subject and on the side of the face, just to add a little bit of depth and just to separate the person from the background. Works particularly well when you use a darker background, not so much on white background. And here's a tip if you're struggling with light hitting the glasses of a subject and it's appearing in the image. What you need to do is get that light as high as possible, and it'll act and it will bounce as if you're playing snooker or pool. It'll bounce off the glasses and go below the camera. So that's how you get around that. Get that light up high if you're struggling with light reflecting in glasses. Now here's a fuller setup where we might be lighting a white backdrop or a coloured backdrop, but typically a white backdrop in this type of setup. And what we've done is the same setup, but you'll see now that we're making sure we're 5 foot away from the background, which is about 1.5 meters, and that's so that we don't get any shadows on the background. Then we've got 2 lights that are shining onto the background, and they've got 2 flags on them, and that can be as simple as some art cardboard on a stand that's then clipped to the stand. Well, what those flags are doing, stopping that light from the two background lights falling on the subject. They're just going onto the background and not falling onto the subject, so they don't interfere with the light. If we didn't have them there, we might get some light appearing on edges and overpowering the main light we actually have. So step 6, sound. Sound is the single most important element in video production in terms of quality. So if you've got slightly bad imagery, video work, if your sound is excellent, people won't notice. But you can have the best video quality in the world and bad sound, and people just will refuse to watch your video. So sound needs to be done well. So let's have a look at a sound setup. Now what we've got here is we've got a mic, we've got a pop filter, and then we've got the subject. Now if you was using a lav mic, you'd probably you wouldn't use this setup, because a lav mic would have its own mini pop filter. But if you're using a shotgun mic, you want to make sure that there's a little pop filter, and it's going to remove any sharp sounds off the top of the voice. Now you can see some squiggly lines all on the background, and what that actually is, if you're shooting in a studio or a small location, what you're going to find is the sound is going to bounce off the walls and hit the mic, and that's what's going to create echo in a room. So if you can, one of the ways to stop that is to put some sound insulation, maybe just some blankets on the wall, something like that, just to stop the bounce echoing back onto the back of the mic. And that's a top tip if you're really struggling with echo. And you'll see we've also put a little sound barrier in front of the mic. And here is how you would use a shotgun mic. You would not aim the shotgun mic straight at the subject. It's always better to aim the shotgun mic either up or down. And believe it or not, that will reduce background noise. You have to try it to really understand it. If you've got a shotgun mic, point it straight at the subject in a noisy environment, and then change it to an angle and watch the noise difference. You'll be amazed. So top tip there. So let's think about presentation now, step 7. Composition is really important, where you place yourself in the frame, and it's where most people go wrong when they're actually presenting a marketing video. And I'm going to show you what that actually looks like in a moment. The other thing I want to talk about is this. Obviously we don't have time to go into coaching on how to present in front of a camera, but you know, sometimes the best thing is just to be totally natural. If you go to anyone who's teaching presentation skills, essentially what they're trying to do is get you to forget you're in front of a camera. And if you can forget you're actually in front of a camera and you're just talking to someone and you're passionate and you're interested in what you're talking about, it's going to come across and you'll be surprised how well you do. But a lot of people get really locked up and frightened in front of a camera. It's a huge thing for people. The way to think about it is like this. If everybody in the world knew you, do you think they'd all like you? No. There'd be some people who just didn't like you no matter what you did, no matter how nice you were to them. They're not going to like you. So some people are going to not like you anyway. So when you start realizing that, just be yourself in front of the camera. The people that don't like you aren't going to like you no matter how well you do. So just relax and enjoy yourself. So this is a typical composition. You'll see I'm using something very similar here. This is what we call the rule of thirds. And you'll see a line goes through their eyes and down the center of their face. They're about a third of the way inside the frame. And a lot of people really make this mistake when they come to composition. They stick their subject right in the middle of the frame. And that is not a pleasing composition in terms of producing good quality video. Just moving someone off to the side is going to make absolutely huge difference to your composition. Now, let's bring this one in. This is an upper body talking head. The other one was like a half body. This is an upper body talking head. And you can see, again, we've got that rule of thirds, and we've balanced the composition in that section. So that is naturally pleasing Photographers know this, director of photography and videography know this, but people outside those industries don't tend to understand these compositional rules. It's called the rule of thirds, but it really, really helps in video production as well. Like all rules, it can be disobeyed, it can be ignored, but be aware of it and look and consider in future when you see people being filmed on video in the middle and off to the side, what do you think looks best? And I'll leave that up to you to decide. So let's just think about editing here. Now, basic editing skills are needed, but then you don't need to be really fancy with those skills. The things you need to learn and focus on are these: cuts, transitions, fade. So whatever software you're using, if you learn to cut, do a transition or a fade, that's a key skill. Adding text or graphics or images as a new layer is another key skill. So whatever software you're using, go out and research that. Adding audio, so if you need to add music, you need to add that as a layer. Most editing suites are going to work on the layer principle. So adding audio is going to be something you need to do, because when you record the way we've suggested, you've got the audio in the camera, you've also got the audio in your recording device, and you're going to want to add that audio to your video and then silence the audio from your camera. Now you want both because you want to be able to synchronize them together. The quickest way of synchronizing video is to, while you're at the beginning of the filming, is to do a sharp clap, and that's going to give you a spike, and then when you drag it into your software, you'll be able to move and edge it along until they match perfectly, and then silence the one you don't need. And you always do that at the beginning of editing. Always sync your audio first before you do any cuts or transitions. Adding additional footage. Now you might want to create B-roll. We don't have sort of time to go into that on this video right now, but if you take our full course, we explain B-roll and we show you what that looks like in a video and how that can add some additional depth. But adding additional footage is just the same again, adding a new layer in your editing. If you can learn that, then you'll learn a key skill. And then when it comes to audio, two things you need to focus on: noise reduction. No matter how well you record, there's always going to be a little bit of noise in the background, and you're going to have to learn how to normalize or compress the audio, because what will happen is you might talk and it go really loud, and then it might go really quiet, and then what you can do in software is lift the quiet parts up and reduce the loud parts. You never want to go so loud that you go into the red on your audio meter, because now you've just corrupted the audio. And once you've corrupted audio, it doesn't matter what you do, you can't rescue it in post. So oftentimes the normalizing or compressing will be done nearly all, well, 100% of the time. If you're going to do commercial videos, that's where it's going to be done. And then you need to know how to export the edited video in the appropriate file format for uploading. So typically on YouTube, you're going to export an MP4, and that will go onto YouTube. So let's think about the SEO now. So you've done your video, you've filmed it, you've recorded it, you've edited it, you've got it on YouTube, you've uploaded it. How do we now actually start to get it found in search? Because you can do all of that and then make the mistake of not spending time here, which I think 99% of people who put content on YouTube for marketing, they fail because they don't dedicate as much time here as they do to actually producing the video. So the first thing we have to look at is the titles. And when we write a title for a YouTube video, we have to balance two things. And this is where people get a little bit stuck. You have to balance the sales copy with the SEO copy. So the sales copy is the thing that creates the interest, the attention. If you remember, we talked about the attention in the AIDA sales funnel. So the attention will be the title. We want to get them to give them a compelling reason to actually consume our content. But we also need to make sure the right keywords are in that title. So we need to learn to balance the two. That's really, really important when it comes to titles. Step 10. So now we're talking about SEO descriptions. We want to write descriptions naturally. What a lot of people do, they make the mistake of finding loads of keywords that they think Google are going to like, and then stuffing them into their video description. Now, what you must understand is none of the audio in your video is actually indexed by Google. So the only thing they can actually index to find out what's in your video is in the description. So we want to get the stuff in the description. We want that to be there. But when we put it in the description, we want to write it naturally for our audience. But we do also want to add some keywords in there. We want to make sure the right keywords are in there, but we want to insert them naturally. And there's some different tools and different techniques you can use for that. And we go into that in great depth in our course if you want some help. But just if you just want some help now, just do keyword research online, and you're going to find lots of free resources to help you do really good keyword research. Now, 300 words per video is good. It's not essential, but when it comes to Google indexing, 300 words is considered in the industry a good length of content that will tell Google that something interesting is here. And that goes for blog articles or anything really, but you can apply that same principle to a YouTube video. One of the things you can do is take your video, take the script, if you've written a script, add that as a description. That can be very powerful because it's naturally got the keywords in it. And the other thing you can do is, once you've recorded the video, you can then have someone transcribe it. And if you go onto websites like Fiverr.com, and that's Fivver, you'll find people who transcribe a 3-minute YouTube video, for around $5 to $10. So it's not expensive. So consider that. Get them keywords in the description one way or another. So let's have a look at tags and how they help SEO. So this is step 11, and tags are the secret weapon. They can drive 50% of your traffic to your YouTube video. And basically what happens is when you watch YouTube, all the videos on the right-hand side that are suggested to you as you watch YouTube are suggested based on the tags. So when you really start thinking about that, if you can find out what tags, and in our in-depth training we show you how to find those tags really simply and easily. If you can find the tags of similar videos that you're trying to compete with and take those tags, put them in your video, you know those tags are working because those people have got popular traffic. If you can take those tags, put them in your video, you can now, when someone else is watching their video, you have the opportunity, the chance, the possibility of turning up in that column on the right and start picking up traffic. So tags are really, really, really important. Step 11. So annotations, and these are really, really interesting. Although I've put them under SEO, they're more call to action, but we need to put them there. So they help with the calls to action. So for instance, I'm going to put an annotation up in the video now. And in that video, in that annotation, what you're going to see is that I've got a 12-step PDF for this, what I've just presented in this video. So a little PDF you can download. And if you go and follow the link to that, you're going to get that PDF. And that'll help you remember when you're planning your video, the 12 steps of what you need to do as you go through the process. So that's there. Also, obviously, as well, I've got a full in-depth course on this on Udemy, so go and have a look at that as well. That's going to take you through this in much greater detail and show you all the little tricks and stuff. This is just a guide to help you get going. That's going to really take your hand and take through it. So I'll put a link here, so I'm going to put an annotation in this video as well, and I'll also put it below so you can go to that. Now that's a genuine call to action, but I hope you can see what I've just done there. When you have a look at the annotations that come up, you'll see how they look and how they work. Now, annotations are for desktop PCs and they don't show on mobile devices, but if you want to put an annotation on a mobile device, when you go in and edit your YouTube video, you're going to see an option that says cards. And if you fill out a card, what that means is someone on a mobile device can then click on your annotation. And this has been a long time coming from YouTube. People have been waiting for it for a very long time. Massive step forward. So make sure that any videos you've already got, go back and do the cards for those. And any videos, always make sure you add that card so that people on mobile devices can see the annotations, because they won't see them, the traditional annotations that go on desktop.